What did I watch? Madam Webb. Yay. The movie we've all been waiting for, I guess. Sony's latest attempt of kickstarting their Spider-Man spin-off universe now drags in Dakota Johnson as a much younger version of Madam Webb. Cassandra Webb is a New York metropolis paramedic who begins to demonstrate signs of clairvoyance. Forced to challenge revelations about her past, she needs to safeguard 3 young women from a deadly adversary who wants them destroyed. God, where do I even start with this? I feel like most of you that are looking at Madam Webb reviews online probably already know by now that it's not good. So whilst I'll normally go strict on spoilers, you're either going to watch this already or you never will. And there's just a lot of questionable stuff here, which I might talk about in the end. I don't know. Let's start with the good, because there is some, believe it or not, and one of them is editing, arguably one of the best aspects of the film. When we go through these strange visions in which Cassie Webb can see the future, it cuts back and forth between the future and past, and also merges the two to make it look like they're in the same place. They also do this thing where it's the same scene but from a different viewpoint, and the way it transitions back and forth can sometimes make it really intriguing and also kind of creepy. The opening 10 minutes is the worst opening I've seen in recent history, but they do go back to it in a scene near the end of the film with a very different viewpoint, and it almost makes it feel like a good storytelling decision. There's just not a lot of that though. I think if they pushed more in that creepy direction and focused more on the villain being this harbinger of death more than this desperate man just looking to find out who the heroes are, they could have made this into a thriller or horror, and that might have made this feel a bit more unique. Because this isn't really a superhero film, if I'm honest. I mean, first off, it's the same writers as Morbius, so take of that as you will. But the premise is essentially just a long game of hide and seek. The villain looks like an evil Spider-Man, but can't use webs or anything, so he just jumps around. And our heroes just aren't really heroes. Dakota Johnson will see the 3 teenagers die, save them, and then we rinse and repeat. The marketing shows you the other 3 in costume, and what you see in that trailer is essentially as much as you see in the film as well. They're in a flash forward scene that they kind of just skip to once in the film, and besides from that, they're just helpless girls that don't do much. So it isn't a superhero film, doesn't really do enough to be a horror film either, it certainly isn't a comedy, so it just is. And if you've seen any of the press tours, you can tell that Dakota Johnson isn't really a fan of this either. And unfortunately, that same attitude looks to be carried out on set as well. Like 70% of this movie, she looks completely uninterested and flat. And sure, the insane exposition heavy cringe dialogue doesn't help at times, but I don't think we can put all of the blame just on that, because there's some scenes where it looks like she kind of tried. One scene in particular where everyone's in a hotel room felt like they had some, slither of chemistry with the characters for a second. But it gets worse from there, and we're hit with this slow-paced, clunky rooftop action scene, which is just cursed with Pepsi product placement, much like the rest of the movie. We have an emotional reunion where Dakota Johnson just can't muster any energy to invoke the sadness required of the character, and then it reached its lowest when we see her with her full powers at the end. And by the end, I mean that last 10 minutes as it's closing out. She's got the glasses, she's confined to a wheelchair for no explanation whatsoever, and every line spoke just felt awful. I never want to see that again. Then we move on to the 3 girls who are, for the best word, fine. They played their poorly written characters with one-dimensional traits to the best of what they could. Adam Scott is in here as a confusing Ben Parker character, seemingly trying to thinly tie this into a Spider-Man universe. And I really don't want to just be flat out mean for the sake of it, but we move on to the villain, where we just met with one of the worst casting choices in history. Not entirely the dude's fault, because it feels like there was a huge chunk of reshoots done to this guy's portion of the story. So 90% of his dialogue is just dubbed in post, and it's horrendously noticeable. He speaks like he's void of emotion in a recording booth somewhere else, and the words don't even match his lips. This is an A-list Hollywood studio, guys. I'd be dead curious to see what this film was meant to be. Every shot where this villain, when he talks, I don't even remember his name anymore, Spider-Bland? When he talks, he's either facing away from the camera or off screen entirely, and it's so jarring. Anytime I tried to get into this film, he showed up and just whiplashed us back into this reality of discomfort. There was this dude next to me with a cold just coughing all day long, and I still found him less annoying than whatever they did to this poor character. There's a lot to suggest that this movie was originally meant to be set in maybe 1993, but the reshoots moved up a decade into 2003. No idea why, doubt we'll ever know. And there's also this scene in a diver involving Britney Spears' song Toxic, and if you've seen the film, I hope you all noted this, but she got to the diner on foot at the same part of the song as she arrived in car. So she's either the world's slowest driver or the world's fastest runner. There's just, very little thought put into any of this. and I just don't get what Sony thinks it's accomplishing with these. Is it better or worse than Morbius? Ugh, who cares, they're both bad. So yeah, Madam Web, don't recommend it. But have you already seen it? If so, I'm so sorry for your loss. It came out last week, and if so, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. What part annoyed you the most, or keeping things positive, what part did you like the most? The hotel room bonding scene was definitely it for me. If you liked this review, feel free to like and subscribe and all that. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews on movies, anime, and video games. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye bye.